Hey guys, good morning. Thank you so much for joining this session. Let me share my screen. I think I'm already sharing my screen. So let's discuss what is that we'll be doing today in this session. Okay. So let us start. This is the part of the series where we are discussing on AWS CI/CD, the code build, along with the the CI/CD pipeline, the code commit, code build, code deploy, code pipeline. We'll be discussing on all those things. But for the timing, let's see what is that we are going to do. So this is the meetup group. I'll give a couple of links. It will be helpful for you to either track or see. So this is the meetup group. So you can subscribe to this meetup group. I'll post it here, the meetup group. And also, this is my GitHub repository. Let me give that GitHub repository. And here is where you will find the demo script and the code for today's session. I've already given here in this link. When you go to this demo script, you'll find it will navigate you to the place where you have the code checked in for both. Everything is there. So let's quickly start and go through our agenda, and then we will start. Okay, so we have a lot of things to discuss today. So let's start one by one. We will I'll come here. So we'll see what is that we are going to do today. Let me start with this. So this is the agenda for today. So we'll see the existing repositories, whatever we have, and then we'll understand what is code build. Then we'll see what is the basic workflow, and then we will create a S3 bucket, and then we'll create the S3 bucket, and then we'll start with creating the code build project, and then we will start the build, and we'll see that build is failing. Then we'll investigate why the build is failing, and then we'll do the clean build and test the Spring Boot application locally, and then we will be able to do few of those commands which are very much important. I just captured along with the real-time scenario. Like if I have the main branch and the current branch is behind, so that means the main branch has got something which has been updated, and the current branch is also updated, but I didn't bring the latest changes to my current branch. So that means what happens is there will be a conflict in the same file, because both the files has been modified in maybe in different places, but the tracking is different. So in that case, what we have to do is we should bring the main branch and then check out our branch. And then here, if you see that the main branch, I pulled the latest one, so it got up to the date, and I was in the main branch. So then I switched it to the 5th November branch, and then I told git merge main. So what I'm telling is technically get all the changes from the main and merge it to November 5th. So that's where it told there were conflicts. So I went and resolved those conflicts. And then when I checked the status, everything was good. Then I was able to check the build. You can see that the same file, the build spec file, I modified. One was in the main, and on the 5th November branch, I was little behind the traces. So that was the reason it was little tough, but that's very good thing. I faced that problem. Then we will see the build spec. At least for today, what is needed is 3 of the key pieces. One is version, other one is phases, next one is artifacts. We will see. We will break the things, and then we will learn from that. Okay. And then if you see that how to start the build, and then where we can watch the logs, and how can we go and see this and build artifacts, how the artifacts are getting generated, and also something known as a build badges. We'll see about this build badge also. So what happens is, if you're having any open source or any project which you're creating and you want others to use it, so one thing which will help them to make a decision whether to use this or not is the badges, which can say that a lot of badges are there, security badges, build badge, and these kind of badges are there. So once they come to the uh, website in the README file, most of the projects, they'll put their build badges, the CI/CD nightly or whatever the builds applicable. They put it everything there, so it will make others feel safe. See that, oh, if I take this, it will be running. So that's the thing. Okay, so let's hit the road. So it was a good walkthrough of what is that we are going to do in 4 minutes, and we'll start. I think you guys have all the URLs I just pasted here. All the URLs are there. So we will start with that today. Now, let me come with here and let's see the existing code repositories. Oh, and one more thing I just want to mention before we start. So I thought of to do both on .NET 8 as well as the Java Spring Boot uh, web API. But when I went through the content, you can see that there are 11 sections, decent 11 sections are there if you exclude one or two, but it's coming to 13. I'm excluding two, so decent 10, at least 10 sections are there. So we need to spend good amount of time. So that is the reason. What did I do is I just created part 2 of this. If you come in here, you can see that today we'll be discussing the code build with Java Spring Boot. Apart from what we are discussing, there are other pieces which we need to discuss about the notification. What if someone checked in the code, or what all the phases or states of this build process, what happened, how do we get notified. So the notification thing and the code commit approval thing, that's few of the pieces which I didn't touch. So I thought of to, instead of going directly to the code deploy, I thought that let me stop here and do this. What are the missing pieces which I didn't cover on either in the code build or code commit? I'll cover that. And also exclusively, let's have a full round of walkthrough on this .NET 7 minimal API. I thought of to do a .NET 8, but the problem, as I was mentioning when I was initially telling that, the problem was I couldn't find the .NET image, but I'll give that a shot. I don't know what will happen in next 15 days. So still we have a decent 20 days time to that. So whether we'll stick to the game plan of .NET 7 or we'll go to .NET 8, I'm not sure. But this is the part 2 of that, purely on .NET side. Today we'll focus purely on the Java side of the world. So let me start. I'll open a terminal and come back. So this is a study at 10:50 p.m. Yes, this is what we will use it for the demo. So this is the live one. So I do git status, it shows that, and git branch, it shows there are 3 branches. One I did it in 30th September, October one I missed it. So November I'm doing 2 sessions, one on 5th and one on 27th. So this is the October month session, technically a tech date or backlog. Okay, I'm on this branch at this point of time. So let me do a code of dot. It's a simple Spring Boot app, nothing big thing, but let's see step by step. So this is the code. We'll keep it there. Then we'll come back to the code commit. Let's come to the code commit, and we'll see we have 2 repositories. If you see that in the code commit, I do have 2 repositories which we created in the month of September. So one is the greetings API, Java Spring Boot, and one is Shirts Shop API, which is minimal API on .NET 8. So let's focus on this one piece today, and then we will in next 20 days again. Anyways, we'll have another session where we will do a deep dive with all the missing parts in both code commit as well as in code build. Let's do that. So these are the two repositories. I'll go into this repository, and inside this repository we have covered quite a few things, but still if you see the pull request, you can see that yesterday I did quite a few pull requests on this one. And the commit visualizer and the compare commits also we have seen. If you see that commit visualizer, it will show this how did the things happen, and how did the merge go. And if we can come back to the commit history, we can select any one of those commits, and we can directly go to that and browse the files at that point of time. So what was the files, what files did we change, all those things will get tracked as part of this one. You can see that what is the state of the files during that time, and that is we are browsing the right side button, whatever we clicked the link on the right side, that is taking to the set of files. And if I click the left side one, the commit ID, so the commit ID is the one which shows a lot of things, like what is the things which we have changed. All those the commit information is there along with the time, like 10:40 India time and 10:38, 10:31, and 9:26. You can see that, and what all the things which we changed it. All those things will be here. So there are two things. One, you can click on the commit ID. One, you can click on the browse. Browse is the state of the files at that point of time. Commit shows that how many commits happened and what changes were done. So this is about the previous existing content we do have. So next, let's go to the first section for today. So the first section for today is what is AWS Code Build. Okay, it's a fully managed continuous integration service that compiles the code, tests, and produces the artifacts. So executables or whatever the deployable artifacts it will be generating. Okay, Code Build project is a collection of build configuration settings. We'll see that what it is. And code and code build environment. Environment is Docker images, and this also there are two types of Docker images. One is system or the AWS provided Docker image, or we can create our own custom Docker image. So this Docker image will be used to pull our source code, compile it, build, test, and generate the artifacts. So that's the reason we need a computing power or the virtual machine or whatever. But here we will be specifically using the Docker images. We'll see what types of Docker images are supported. And then build spec file. So build spec file is collection of the commands. What all the things which we need to do. We should specify all those commands, like any pipeline, the build pipeline in Azure. So similarly, the build spec file where we have the YAML. Here also we have the YAML where we specify the different phases. You have the GitHub Actions and Azure build pipeline and build spec file. You'll GitHub, all these things you can compare. All these three different things, all are doing the same job or similar job. Then build batch. So I just gave the example of this build batch here, and also I exclusively put it here. So when any of the build is either passing, failed, it will give the users enough insights whether they can use the site or what is the state of the build. Okay, then build logs we'll see, history we'll see, artifacts. Artifacts are the binaries which will be deployed to the server. So that is one of the key things in code build. So we will use S3 buckets for that. So again, let's quickly spend 2 minutes time on these URLs, which I opened it. So this is the first one. We will see what is a code build. We have seen that fully managed, on demand, and out of the box. Everything you're getting it. So how do we run the code build? Different ways to run it, but the technical thing is as soon as we merge any code into the code commit, it should trigger the code build. That comes as part of the pipeline, but as of now we do it manually. But there are triggers which will make us hit this code build as soon as someone merges the code in AWS code commit. We'll see that. I have given the URL also, but we'll see that in a minute. So that's what we'll see. So we get the source, we'll build it, we'll test, and till these two things, the source code is part of the code commit. So the build and test is being done as part of the code build. And another thing is how is that it works. If you see that the pipeline, as I was mentioning that technically it should happen as part of the pipeline. So let's ignore one as of now for today. Assume that I manually executed the code build. So code build needs an environment or a computing power where it can do all these activities or job. So for that, the build environment is the computing power, which has got different operating systems and different runtimes. So that is all available. We can quickly document as I was doing yesterday. To do that, I'll show that how many times I failed before getting through it. So once the build kicks in, we'll come to the build environment, and we have the source code, and this source code will get refreshed. That means whatever the latest source code we have it, we'll get that latest source code to the computing, and then it will build it. So after building, what happens is the artifacts will get pushed to the S3, and we can send a notification. That's what notification will cover exclusively on 27th November session. So, and the logs will be sent to the AWS CloudWatch, or it can send it to the S3. We'll use AWS CloudWatch. So that's step 2, 3, 4. It drops the artifacts here. You can send the notification, and all the logs will go to the AWS CloudWatch. And this is what I was telling, that we'll do it in future, but not now. But we can create a trigger. We can create a custom trigger, and inside the custom trigger, we can specify that as soon as the pull request ID or branches head commit is used. So whenever someone checked in, we can do that way also, or we can come through the pipeline. But as of now, let's stick to the game plan. But I just wanted to pull that information also. And this is the build spec reference for code build. So we can see a lot of examples are there, but at least we can see one or two where you can see version, environment variables, the phases, and reporting, artifacts, and the cache. So different things are there. So for today's session, we'll use version and phases and artifacts. We'll be using these three. So that's about the introduction to AWS code build. And we saw the workflow also. Workflow is what, as soon as the developer commits the code, right now we are manually kicking in the build in AWS code build. So code build will run and test. I didn't add any test, which I'll do it by December. Because November we have 2 sessions, one now, one on 27th. So it'll take some time. And then it publishes the artifacts to the S3 bucket. So the first thing what we need is the S3 bucket. So let me come in here and show you guys the S3 bucket. So you can see this is the S3 bucket. And we have greetings API builds. So this is the name I created. So let me show you. I'll just create a V1 of this. Let me keep it there, and I'll copy this name. Let me create the bucket, and the bucket name I'll use V1 today. Oregon is a region because the code commit as well as the code build, I have it in that region. So keeping it in the close proximity will help us. And I'm not sure if I create it in a different region due to permission, lack of permissions or region to region, it might fail. So just to want to be safe from the latency perspective also, and just to avoid any eventualities, keeping this bucket in some other region if it is failing. So, and we'll keep ACLs disabled. Everything is disabled, and block all public access. And bucket versioning, we will be enabling that, because what happens is if you are building now and after 10 minutes, if you're again we are building, so all these builds should have the track. So we need to enable the bucket versioning, and rest everything I'm keeping it as it is. And I just created this build bucket. I'm sorry. I just created the bucket, and inside the bucket, I'm going in here, and let me create a new folder, and I use the folder name as this one. Folder name is this one, and rest I'm keeping everything as it is. Nothing I'm changing. The only thing is we have enabled versioning while creating the S3 buckets. So that is from the bucket creation perspective. So we have our bucket ready, S3 bucket, and all the things has been logged. No one will get access to that. We have enabled the versioning, and then we just created. Nothing else we did it. So that's the thing from the section 4 perspective. Now section 5 is where we'll create the code build project. Okay, so let's go ahead and create the code build project. This is a code commit. We have already seen it here, and couple of things. Whatever I faced, the issues, I will be showing you how did I progress. But we will focus more from the code build and code commit integration perspective. So let me come back to the build projects here, and I'll copy the name, and let me create a new build project. I'll call this as a V1, so that if something fails, at least have a working version. I can go back and say that, hey, this is working yesterday 10:30 p.m. So you can write a description, and we'll enable the build batch. By enabling this build batch, what will happen is it will give you an URL, and that URL will specify what happened to the build, whether the build is passing or failing, or is it executing. All those things will be shown there. So it will be helpful for us to showcase the badges, the build badges. Okay, restrict number of concurrent builds, and we are not touching anything of that one. But what we can do is one second. Okay, we are not touching anything there, and we are saying primary source is, lot of sources are there. The source can be Amazon S3 or code commit. It could be GitHub, Bitbucket, or GitHub Enterprise. So we are using everything AWS native. So let's select the code commit, and the repository, we are selecting the API greetings. and reference type is branch. So which branch we want to build? We want to build the main branches. Choose the commit ID. We'll leave the commit ID so that we want to take the latest one. Now the additional configuration, git clone depth, it's optional, but we can specify the full commits, or else I'm bringing in the first commit. I'll keep it there. And from the environment perspective, this is where we have to choose. Suppose some of the companies, they want their own Docker build or virtual agents or agents, different names are there. I'm calling it as a computing environment, just to lack of better terminology, a computing environment where we will get the download the latest source code, build, compile, build, and test, and push the artifacts from. So a computing environment. So whether you can use the managing compute environment or we can have the custom one. If you use custom, then again, what is that you want to do it? And if you use manage, still you need to select it. But if you see the custom one, you are having one option more, ARM. If it is managed, we are having Amazon Linux, Ubuntu, or Windows Server 2019. I will go ahead with Ubuntu, and the runtime is the standard. And from the standard, see the Docker image. I'm going it with the latest Docker image, whichever the number high, 7. And I don't need this GPU. So this privileged account, enable this flag if you want to build Docker image or want your build to get elevated privileges. Suppose we are doing something new, something which needs an elevated permissions, or we want to create a Docker image and push it to the Amazon Container Registry, ECR, that we will see in future episodes. But for today, we will leave these blank. And we are asking to create the branch, or do I have? Okay, I already have it, yesterday's one. I'm using that instead of creating new one. And here we'll see that additional configuration timeout is 1 hour. So we want to keep it to minimum 5 minutes. If anything you want to fail it within 5 minutes. Don't wait for half a day. So we're not using any certificates. VPC integration, if you need it, we will do that. But compute, this is what I was telling that. So right now we are getting 3 GB of memory and 2 vCPUs. And environment variables, we can pass it from here. As of today, we will not touch about anything because this is our day one. And here, if you use the builds, you need to use the build spec file. So the build spec file should be always this one, BuildSpec.yml. We can have different things also. If you rename it to the different one, then we need to come and use change it here. So we still have 32 minutes. So as of now, we'll try this, and then we will go ahead and do some other configuration if it is in a different path. Here they're clearly telling that if your build spec file uses a different name or a different location, then we have to go ahead and specify the path. It's not mandatory that we need to definitely use build spec YAML. It is mandatory if we select this box and you don't specify anything, it is assumed that you have a file called build spec YAML in the root directory. Either you're changing the spec file name or you're changing the location. In either case, we need to explicitly specify. Here we can see that BuildSpec2.yaml. That's the one. And here you are seeing that configuration is a folder under which they push the build spec file. So we are not doing that adventure now. So I'll keep that as it is. So now artifacts, where do you want to push the artifacts? I want to push it to the demo one, the one which we created just now. And choose the name. I'll come back here and I'll copy this. This is the one which we just now we created, and we go and see that it is pretty much an empty. So I'll come in here and I'll put it here. Enable semantic versioning. Oh, sorry, we don't need to put it there. My mistake. Enable semantic versioning. and you can see that we have to drop the zip packages here. Okay, and artifact packaging, we are saying that package it to the zip instead of if we use the Java right now, whatever we are using, it will create either a var file or jar file. It is one single thing. Suppose if we use .NET 8 minimal API, it will have bunch of files. Better to wrap it in a zip file. It will be easy for the deployment. Okay, and the cache and encryptions, if you're using this encryption keys and cache, using cache is like a double-edged sword. Some of us, we think that having cache, the external dependencies, is good. Sometimes if there is an issue or there is an upgraded version of the packages, we want those packages to come into the build. So I'm really not sure whether to comment or not, but you have a caching project, but I'm a little scared on the caching perspective. So let me keep this as v1 group, and I'll use the same similar name. I'll call it as stream. So what happens is, right now from our build environment, we are sending the logs to the CloudWatch. So that is what it is. So again, let's see that, and then we can correlate this with the first sentence we wrote it as part of our documentation. So the build project is a collection of build configuration settings that AWS code build uses while running this one. Now the build environment also, we have seen that build spec file will come. Four out of these points, 4 points we have seen that. Environment also we have seen somewhere at the top. So where did we see? Here in the environment we saw that one. So all is well. Let's cross our fingers and hit this, and wow. What is that? Whew. Let's create a new one, because most of the times, sometimes if it is troubling, this is what I'll do. I'll go ahead and let me create a new one. So now that we went through this, I'll use a little bit speed on this, selecting the enable build image and code commit, and those are greetings. And the branch, I'm selecting the main branch, and environment is that operating system is Ubuntu, and the runtime is standard, and inside the standard it is 7, and the service role, let's keep the new service role, and spec file is the same, and artifact we are specifying the S3, and we have the bucket name, and we'll use the semantic versioning, and hyphen builds. That's the name. I think I remember that. Yeah, greetings API builds. That's the name we have specified. And package it to the zip file. And we are saying the CloudWatch v1 group and stream. Okay, the policy exists, then we'll use the existing policy. Let's use the policy. Let's use the policy. And there you go. So we were able to create the build project. So the build project is a collection of configuration, includes the environment. And so you can see right now we have this. So we can go ahead and see some of these things. We have build history and batch history, build details. Build details is what it gives us all the details about environment variables or files or spec files, artifacts. So it clearly shows that where is that artifacts which is going to be deployed, as well as the zip packaging. And we are not taking any caching at all. And logs also, we have enabled the logs. So what we can do is real quick, we can click on this, and then you can see the logs, and we can come back here to see the phases, what all the different phases it has got. And let's see the build logs. We'll see the build logs here. See this, it is right now, it has downloaded and it went through the install phase, and it is going through the pre-build phase. Another thing what we can do is we can come to the CloudWatch and expand the logs and click on the log groups. And if you go click on the log groups, just now we have created the log group, this one, Greetings API V1 log group. Now you can see the one which it is generated 9:36, 1 minute ago when we kicked in the build. You can come in here and you can see the all the things. It says that uploaded. So this gives a detailed instructions, sorry, the detailed logs, what is that which is happened. So you can go to the top and step by step you can walk through, and it will help us to investigate the issues also. Now it clearly specifies the web API.var has been uploaded successfully. That means if I come back over here to this this phase, and I can go okay, I have to do a server side click kind of thing. So you can see that just now 9:37, a minute ago, it has uploaded. Under this semantic versioning, you can see it has uploaded, and this is the object URL. And how many versions are there? At this point of time, only one version is there. So we can download it. I will download it. Just give me one more minute. I want to do one more experiment. So we have seen this piece, and we have seen, oh, this is the commit. So we have seen this and we have seen this. So let's spend 1 minute, do some change, and then we'll come back and again we'll do a rebuild of this one. So I'll come to the code commit, or right now I'm here. Why don't I stick to the game plan where I'm here, and let's go and see a couple of things which we have to do it. Code build is over. Actually, technically, if we don't have this build spec file initially, we don't have that one, so it should definitely fail. So let's make it fail. So the build spec file, I renamed it into the BuildSpec.yml. So let me do git status and git add and git commit, rename the file, and git push. So now I'm pushing to this branch. So again, I do git checkout main, git fetch. If at all there is something which is one step ahead of the game, so git pull. Okay, I bought it. Now git branch. Right now I'm on the main. Git checkout Swami 5th November work. Git merge main. So I'm asking, it created the merge, and git push. I'm pushing it to the origin. So now everything has been pushed to the git commit. So if I come back to this one, greetings, and I go to the branches, we should see that. So just now we pushed it 10 hours ago, around 11 o'clock I did this changes, and just now I pushed it. What is that? We will raise a pull request now. So I'm creating a pull request from here, and I'm saying that my source branch is 5th November, and I say compare. So it's comparing this one. Rename the file. So it clearly shows that. It shows that one file has been deleted and one file which it has created. Let me have a glass of water. So few other things which we didn't cover, as I was mentioning, we'll cover in 27 November session. So I want to do a merge of this pull request, or the squash merge, and write down the name. I don't delete this, please. I might reuse it. So okay, let's see that. Let's go to the main file. You see that build spec file underscore XYAML. Now again, let's go and start a new build. Again, we can see there, or we can come back to the log group here, and let's wait for the stream. This was at 9:36. Now it is 9:43. So this should be the one. So it is. Okay, it looks like it failed. YAML file error message. So that's cool. So now let me come back to this one. There are a couple of things we have to see. If I copy the batch URL from here and go to the browser and I paste it, so it will create the SVG file which says it is failing. Let's go back to, because it's giving the correct status. Now if I go here to this one, this has succeeded, but the next run, so what is the current run? So the current run is, as of now, the status of our code is failed. It's in a failed status. And we can see that pretty clearly. The logs are pretty much helpful logs. It clearly says that I'm not able to find the YAML file. So notifications, as I was mentioning, we will come back later. But let me select this and let's go and edit the spec file. Okay. So what was the spec file we renamed it as? We renamed it as this one. Update the build spec file. Okay. We updated the build spec file. And if I come to build history, it was failing. Now let's kick in another build. So I'll come in here, the third log stream. Oh, okay. It's maybe it's setting up the environment. We can see that in the build phases. Oh, there are a lot of things happened. So it moved further than that. So that's very good point. I forgot to cover it. So if you see that in the failed build, if you go to the phase details, it clearly shows that in which phase it failed. So that gives us at least a ballpark clue that where did it fail. So now if we see the build phase, it clearly shows that submitted, queued, provisioning, and downloaded the source code, 6 seconds, install. We are installing Java 17, and pre-build, build, post-build, upload artifacts was 1 second, finalizing. Now let's go back to this one to see. I can see that show versions. So one is of 937 and one is at 946. So within 10 minutes, we had created 2 builds. That is one good point. So what we have learned by this exercise is, even if we have build spec file with a different name, we don't need to worry. The only thing is, while you're selecting the build spec file, we have to specify what is the name which we have specified. Or else I can move that to a different specs, a folder name I can create as spec files and move that. But once we are creating the build project, we should be pretty cautious to specify the configuration. Now that we have covered this one, the build failing and how can we resolve it, and let's see this part. So what is this is, before writing the spec files, we have to be doubly sure that our code works here. So we need to at least execute these commands: maven clean, maven validate, and maven install, which creates the var file. So we can execute those commands, or else we can use this Java project. We can see that. Let me come into this one. This are the controllers. Here are the controllers. Okay, so we can see this one here. I can do debug, so which executes this project. So it's executing the Java, and it is Java Spring Boot 3.1.x, and is it running? I think it is running. So I think I can go to this endpoint as of now to see the output. We are getting the output. Okay, so that means from the Visual Studio IDE, we are able to execute it. So till that much, we are sure that, okay, our code works. It is not going to break anything. So another thing what we can do is, why is that not Maven dependencies? There will be another menu option here, which will show that it's not this one. It is not this one. It will be Let me bring this back to this one. And this is the file which we will use to execute the Maven thing commands. But for that, Java home command is necessary. The Java home command is necessary because they're concatenating the Java home and they expect the Java to be there. Okay, so we'll see those commands, how to execute it. We'll execute this command first to do a Maven clean. So it will scan and it will clean. And another very important point is in the pom.xml, we have written the final name equal to project.artifact ID. So if I copy this artifact ID and search for our project, so the artifact ID it is web API. So it can be something like this. We see all these projects name hyphen name hyphen name. So that's the pattern. So I just wanted to keep it short. So now we have to correlate this project ID or the artifact ID, whatever we have used is this one. And the same name we have to specify under target, because why we are doing this exercise is we have to understand what all the artifacts it is generating on our local, and then we will be in a good position to configure the build spec file. Because if we don't understand what is happening in our local and try to build the spec files, that clearly shows that we are preparing for failure. Now we are validating that. I'll tell you why we are preparing for failure. And clean, we executed 2, and now we'll execute the install. So what will happen when I execute the install command? So watch out of this output of this command. So it's creating the snapshot and it is executing the test, and then it's creating the var file. And what is the var file it has created? Under target, you can see this is the folder under target. It has created web API var file. So this is the one which it created just now. So whatever we specify in the pom.xml, the same file name should be available in the build spec file. So if you have something else, so that means it is going to fail. So now you will be able to correlate the two things. One is the target and one is the final file name. The final file name is this one, which we get it from the artifact ID, which is web API. So the output var file will be webapi.var. Why are we executing this clean, validate and install is we need to be doubly sure that our project is in a fully compilable state. All the tests are executed, everything is validated, and it is creating the var file. And what is the var file name is? This is a var file. So this name under target webapi.var, that will be here, so that we are saying that, hey, take everything from this folder. Everything in the sense for us it is var file. So take this var file, package it and push it to the artifact. So that is one important thing which I wanted to cover. And versionings also we have seen that. And another thing is, let's go back to the V1 of this. And here, if you see, the previous one was failing. This was failing. Now that particular run was failing. This is the latest run. See that if this was a previous run, they might be creating. Now the latest one, if I use, it shows passing. So if I put this here, they have the ID. So they go and validate what is the current state of that particular run. and generate the SVG file. So that clearly gives the indication that whether our project is in a compilable state or can they use it. Like if it is not in a compilable state and the builds are failing, if they use our library, that means they themselves are also preparing for failures. Okay. So jokes apart, it's a serious thing, isn't it? It's not only for the joke, but um, it's a serious thing. We need to be a little careful on that piece. And did we miss anything else? We saw all these things. I mean, I'll take care about the one. And we saw batch history. We don't have anything. Build details also we have seen, which is specifies the configuration, the source from where we are pulling it, and the environments. You can clearly see that Linux EC2. What is the computing power? Privileged access. We said that no. We discussed about that one. And environment variables we don't have. The spec file name is this one, and these are the artifacts which it is creating. And also we can come and see here pretty clearly that we have enabled the semantic versioning. I mean, we could have used the build ID, which it specifies, but I didn't use that. Maybe I'll try it when we are doing the part 2 of this on November 27th. Okay. So that is covered here. And we covered the build badges also we have covered. And we covered the artifacts. Oh, artifacts will be the downloadable. So if I want to download this, I'll select that artifact and click on download. So that gets downloaded the WAR file, and locally we want to test it. We can use any of those servers, Apache, Tomcat, or whatever the server we want to use it. We can use it, and we can see the number of bytes. Yesterday I tested this at 6 p.m. and today again on 10. So that's the thing about the download. So with that, I think we will be in a good position to conclude the session. And as I was mentioning, the next session will be on 27th, where the missing pieces either in code commit or code build, definitely the notification approval process, I didn't discuss. So those two things, and see if I want to speak on anything else within those two sections. Let's make our fundamentals a little bit stronger. So I'll speak on those, and exclusively let's run through the minimal API, because that's pretty interesting. Here, the output is only a single WAR file. There it will be multiple files. So that will be the section 2 on 27 November. And the next section, which is on microservice series, is session 5 of 120. A long way to go. So that's the 2 upcoming in November, and rest December 2. I'm keeping it light on December, and again we'll start in Jan. Okay. With that, I think if there are no queries, if your live stream will be on lower right, good to see the text. Oh. Okay, Kritik, I'll take care of that. I'll take care. I didn't realize that it is blocking the content, because I've selected the view here that pins the profile to the bottom left corner. So what I can do is I'll select only the content view. So that way what happens is it will not block any of the main screen. I'll take care of that. Thanks. Thank you so much, guys. So please visit the YouTube, watch the video, and also you can subscribe to the meetup. So any new sessions I'm creating, you'll get notified. Thank you so much. Have a good rest of the day. Bye.